Hello, and welcome to Fundamentals of People Management, Module 11. I'm Dr. Lon Schiffbauer, and today we are talking about providing feedback and coaching. I feel that feedback is often underappreciated and underutilized. In our previous module, we talked about performance management, and it's pretty easy to see how feedback and coaching plays into performance management. But the truth is, feedback should be a regular daily part of our meetings and routines and interactions with our employees. In fact, I would go so far as to say that feedback is life. Okay, just as a silly example, imagine for a moment that you had to write an email, but you had no monitor. Now you have the computer, you have the connectivity, you have the keyboard, you have the mouse, so you have pretty much everything you need to write an email, but no monitor. Without the monitor, without that feedback mechanism, doing something as simple as sending an email would be close to impossible. We use feedback all of the time through our senses and through our interactions when working and driving and just existing in life. So I know we tend to overthink feedback and get all freaked out and nervous about it. It fills us with anxiety when we think about receiving feedback. But life without feedback would be no life at all. So we need to kind of let go of our terror and embrace it. And it's by embracing this feedback that we can really benefit from all that it has to offer. So let's explore some of these. First of all, feedback can help clarify expectations with the employees and help them understand what success looks like. This way, they know that they're working on the right stuff at the right time and in the right way. Likewise, it helps employees monitor their progress and make sure that they are on the right track. Think of it as kind of a GPS. We have that thing there all the time, and we're always glancing at it to make sure that we're heading the right direction. This is what feedback can do for our employees. It also helps employees understand their strengths, their core competencies, and how to bring these strengths to bear when supporting the team and the organization. On the other end of the spectrum, feedback can help employees figure out where they can improve their performance, figure out what skills or knowledge or competencies they need to develop to bring ever greater value to the organization. Finally, feedback communicates to the employees that their work is valued and appreciated. Now, this might sound like a small thing, but as you know from our module on motivation, feeling valued and appreciated can really be a core driver in motivating our performance. Furthermore, it increases retention, keeping your best employees around because you've told them through feedback, "You're one of my best employees." So these are just some of the benefits that feedback can provide our employees and likewise us when our managers give us frequent feedback. But as I said before, feedback sort of has a branding problem. Instead of looking at it as something that helps us be successful in life and something we actually truly want. Imagine driving around without a GPS. Oh my gosh, right? We love feedback, we crave feedback, and yet somehow or another in the workplace, we've attached this weird anxiety to feedback, such that we really get all freaked out when somebody provides us with guidance. We really want to change this. Feedback should be a regular part of our day-to-day interactions with our employees. This as opposed to management by exception, which is I only give you feedback when you're doing something wrong, and yet you get radio silence from me when you're doing something right. No wonder we get all anxious about feedback. And you know what? This isn't just about providing feedback to employees. As a manager, you should be asking for feedback from your employees on a regular basis, not just those one-off instances. This not only helps you develop in your own career, but helps your employees feel like they're in a safe place with you and that there's this collaborative relationship between them and you in developing your career and their career. This is something we really want. Okay, so yes, there's a branding problem, and yes, we want it to be a regular thing, but we need to call out the fact that sometimes we need to provide some pretty hard, difficult feedback. And so let's talk about how to do this properly. Now, before I go through the process of delivering hard feedback, the ugly stuff, if you will, let's first understand what our objective is. What is our desired outcome? In delivering feedback, your objectives should be to help the employee understand the results of the behavior or performance that they are currently exhibiting, offer the employee coaching in a way that does not push away or alienate the person, maintain or even strengthen the manager-employee relationship, increase the employee's engagement, and ultimately improve the employee's performance. This is the outcome. This is what we're looking for. So with this in mind, let's go through the process. First, ask the employee if you can give them feedback. I know this sounds a little strange, but this is pretty important. First of all, it creates a safe place for the employee since they now kind of feel like they have at least some level of autonomy in this session. After all, if they're not ready for the feedback, they might say, you know what, okay, I understand you have something to offer, but right now isn't good. Can we meet in an hour or can we meet tomorrow morning? Something like this. This way, they feel like they are a participant in the process rather than just being ambushed. The last thing you want to do is just stop them in the hall while they're walking through with papers and on the phone and trying to figure something out and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Come on in here. You don't want to do that. Next, state what you observed. We're talking about the observable facts of the situations, not the assumptions or interpretations. For example, let's say that in a meeting, an employee is texting and not looking up to the speaker and not participating with the group. These are observable facts. What you want to avoid is saying you were not being respectful, you were not focused on the right thing at the moment, because you don't know why they were texting, not looking up, not participating. You want to just say, hey, listen, this is what I saw. And there's a reason that we want to approach it like this. Because ultimately, what we then want to do is state what we perceived. So, for example, if the employee is texting, you can say, it kind of looked to me like you were not paying attention and not participating. Because based on what we observed, them texting and not participating in the meeting, you can say, this is kind of what I saw. Now, the reason we do this is it removes a value judgment and kind of opens things up for discussion around what was really going on. It also removes this sort of sense of a personal attack. Instead of saying you weren't paying attention, you're saying it kind of looked to me like you weren't paying attention. You're saying the same thing, but the first one is an accusation as though it's an immutable fact. The second one is a perception, one open to discussion. Next, you want to talk about what the effect of their behavior was on the team. So going back to our meeting once again, by saying, it kind of looked to me like you weren't paying attention. I saw you texting and I didn't see a lot of participation from you in our discussion. This kind of puts the team in a tough spot because they're relying upon you and they need your input. You have a lot to offer, and without your engagement, the team is not working with all the information and all the opportunities. By doing this, you're saying your current performance, your current behavior has an effect on the team, on your coworkers, on the organization, our clients, etc. But once again, you want to reiterate, this is your perception. Looking at things from the outside, it looked to me like you were not really engaged in the meeting. Now, stating things as a perception, this is what I saw from the outside, but I want your thoughts. This is important because at this stage, we want to pause and say, am I missing something? Is there something I don't know? You want to give the employee the opportunity to either say, actually, yeah, you're right, I wasn't paying attention, or no, actually, there was this fire going on that I was trying to deal with in text, and actually, we need to talk about this because I'm not sure that we're focusing on the right thing. Now we have an opportunity for a dialogue. Now, as the employee explains their side and tells you why they were doing what they were doing, don't just kind of figure out how to counter it. Listen with empathy. Really figure out what are they trying to say, both literally saying as well as the message that is imbued in the undertones of what they're telling you. You really want to make sure that you've got their point of view involved in all of this. This way you will be able to give better and more direct and more helpful feedback. Now, when you're providing feedback, make sure that you're really focused on one or two things, no more than that. If you come in with this big, huge laundry list of you did this, and this, I want you to do that, and that, they are not going to listen. They are going to feel completely attacked. They're going to shut down. That's it. But if you focus on just one or two things, this is something the employee will be able to emotionally and mentally and intellectually wrap their minds around. Now, once the employee has kind of had their say and you two have come to an agreement on what the behavior was and the root of this behavior, you can then kind of figure out what kind of coaching and guidance to provide the employee. When you do this, make sure the coaching and guidance is specific and only one or two things. Once again, if you just provide this litany of things you want the employee to do, it's going to be overwhelming and it will not be helpful. But if you just provide one or two specific things for the employee to do in the future to mitigate for this undesirable behavior, they'll be able to kind of sink their teeth into it. Now, you will also want to put together some basic plan. Remember, this is not a corrective action plan. This is just feedback. But you'll want to have in place some sort of expectation around, okay, this is how I expect to see things done in the future and so forth. And presuming they do modify their behavior as discussed, you'll want to make sure you acknowledge this, that you call it out, that you say, hey, the meeting yesterday, that was fantastic. You were Johnny on the spot, you were focused, and your contributions really made a difference to the final decision that the team made. I really appreciate that. That's what I'm looking for. You want to make sure that you reward the positive behavior so that they'll just keep doing it. That's the way we work. Now, finally, once the dust has sort of settled around the situation and you're happy with where things are, I recommend that you approach the employee and ask for feedback on how you provided the feedback. Now, this does several things. First of all, it shows that just as in you're willing to give feedback and you think it's valuable, so please do it, you're also saying, I want feedback because I think it's valuable and I will do as you recommend, given that it's good feedback and so forth. The next thing it does is it really shows the employee that you two are both interested in each other's careers. I want to help you in your career, so I'm giving you feedback. I hope that you are willing to help me in my career, so please provide feedback to me. This is just one of the many ways that we can kind of rebrand feedback, if you will, and use it as a day-to-day part of our employer-employee relationship versus this one-off management by exception thing that it is in so many organizations. And there you go. You now have a pretty good understanding of how you can give and receive feedback, so I strongly recommend that you move forward with this. Now, remember, I kind of offered this up as part of the performance management concept that we discussed in our previous module. Performance management should always involve a healthy, ample helping of feedback. Now, that all being said, sometimes the result of performance management and a corrective action plan is not more feedback, but is in fact termination. And that's what we're going to discuss in our next module. So stick around and let's talk about how to conduct a termination in a humane, effective, empathetic way. All right? Hey, thanks a lot for joining today. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day.